Hi, thanks for tuning in today to Front Porch Conversations here at Advent Christian Village. We're on the front porch at the Copeland Community Center, and as our guest today, we have Ellie Foerste. And I probably butchered your last name.
Foerste, but you're good.
Okay, well, great. And Ellie is actually Eleanor, but you prefer Ellie. Tell us where you live and a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I moved to Riverwood Christmas Eve. That's my Christmas present coming here. So
And that's this past Christmas.
This past Christmas in 2020, the year. Yep. So I am in the Riverwood area, and I moved there specifically because I love the woods. I love the fact that we're near the water. Mm-hmm. I'm okay not being riverfront, but I love being able to have access to the water. I love nature, and so it is my passion. And I am glad that I found a place where I'm in North Florida woods again, and I'm looking forward to meeting neighbors.
Great. And there's something I learned about you yesterday, and that's that you're a third generation Floridian, and there are not a lot of those.
Well, Mama said there weren't very many to start with.
That's right. That's right.
And when we get mixed marriages, mm-hmm. then that's kind of diluting the native population, I guess mm-hmm. you would say. And so I'm
actually a fourth generation Floridian.
Well, see, I'm a newcomer.
I know. But I have one grandchild that was born in Florida, only by a few hours. My others won't be native fourth or fifth generation Floridians.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised in Fort Myers, Florida, down south. Mm-hmm. And my granddaddy delivered me and most of his grandchildren. He was a country doctor that went to school at University of Florida. Mm-hmm. And then went to Louisiana, and he was at Tulane. And when he came back, he was in practice with an older doctor that took him under his wing. Mm-hmm. So he would get paid in crates of tomatoes from Immokalee, or a case of chickens, or a pool water softener business in the olden days, mm-hmm. or somebody'd give him an orchid. And so it was that kind of thing where he had records in his head. But I was born in Lee Memorial Hospital, and now they have a little display about my granddaddy in the hospital. And so that's some of our family legacy is staying down there. My mom was very involved with what we fondly called the Hysterical Society instead of the Historical Society down there. So we have a pioneer club that my grandparents started down there of people that have been there 50 years or more. So I graduated into that and look forward to going back to visit, but this will be my new home.
Well, we're so glad you're in our neighborhood in Riverwoods. Mm-hmm. That's a little bit about where you were born. Do you have siblings?
I do. I have two sisters, and that is one of the things that got me up here. I have a sister that lives in White Springs, so not too far away, and we get together as often as we can. And then I have another sister that's south of Atlanta right now, and we don't get together often enough. She was born on my 5th birthday, so we share the same birth date, and that is a blessing to be up here closer to both of them.
So your sister in White Springs could canoe down to see you.
We have discussed that. We have discussed the downriver part. We aren't going upriver.
That's why I didn't suggest you go canoe to see her.
Right.
How did you come to find the village?
Well, I'll give you the short Cliff Notes version. We had run away from a hurricane that was coming into Melbourne as a Category 4. Mm-hmm. And where I've been living in Kissimmee for 40 years, I knew that was not a good idea with what we call a stick home, a wood frame house. So my mother-in-law is my other mother. She is not one of those mother-in-laws. She's my other mother. I take care of her. I've been taking care of her at home since 2014, and 2015 her son died. So we ran away, and we came up to Lake City, and the hurricane became a non-event, but Mom became the event of the Labor Day weekend and fell and broke a hip. And so we spent some time in Lake City Hospital and then at Swanee Rehab. And it was during that time, going to get her biscuits at Hardee's, that I discovered the town of Live Oak and decided I wanted to move here. Now, I had never thought I would move out of Kissimmee, but when it was difficult for my sisters to come see me anymore, I figured I was portable. And while I thought that was going to be my forever home, it turned out God had different plans. So now I am here, and I was looking around the Live Oak area, couldn't find senior services there. So the realtor suggested maybe I check this out. So my sister and I and Mom took a ride and decided this was going to be our new home.
Great.
So I'm glad we found it.
Well, let's digress a minute. I forgot to ask you about your early childhood and fond memories of that time.
Oh my goodness. I am blessed that my mom and dad also enjoyed the outdoors. My mom rode her pony and her horse from Fort Myers all the way down to the eastern side of the county, on the side of little tiny roads with Granddaddy and Unnie following her. Mm-hmm. She enjoyed being outside. My dad liked to hunt and fish. So my fond memories are being out on the water fishing. And I remember specifically a visit that we took to Lake Okeechobee. And we would brim fish with cane poles and fishing worms. So at that time, my sister Connie was quite young, but we all had on our life vests, and our bucket of worms was a coffee can strung around our neck. And we had our cane poles, and we would hook our own worms, and we would fish. Well, the water would get deep, and we'd fall in a brim hole or a bass hole, and all that would be left was our eyeballs, the can of worms floating, and the big sun hats, you know. But Mom and Dad could keep track of where we were. So I remember that as a vivid memory, and the fishing was the fun part, but the catching and eating was better. Mm-hmm. And so we learned how to clean fish, and we learned how to shuck our own oysters when we'd go over to the coast, and we would walk around and stomp clams and look for the squirting coming up out of the mud, and so digging our own clams and getting scallops. So I am loving being up here near Steenhatchee and planning on some fishing trips. I've got my fishing poles and my tackle ready, and I'm looking for somebody that wants to go boating and fishing. So those were my good memories, was being able to go camping with my grandparents and dipping water off of a flag pond and listening to the hoot owls and what my mom called the pond squaggins, which were, I'm not even sure which birds they would have been, but
okay. Not their botanical name.
They called them pond squaggins. They would be out screeching in the night. So, and we did eat our venison, but we only caught what we were going to use. Mm-hmm. So we harvested and ate our own food.
Tell us a little bit about your education.
Oh boy, I am still learning. I went to school in private schools up until the mid-'60s, and there were some challenges with stabbings and buses, and it was the time. So I am not sure how Mom and Dad did it, but they managed to get us into private schools, and I graduated from Bishop Faroe High School as a Catholic school. Now I have been confirmed in the Presbyterian Church, and then when we moved to Melbourne for a while, I was confirmed Episcopalian, moved back to Fort Myers, and went to Catholic high school, so I went to Mass every Friday. So now I'm listening to church on TV, so I guess I'm kind of ecumenical.
Sounds like it.
I'm a Christian. I believe very much in Jesus and God in my life, and I'm still a works in progress. Ain't finished with me yet.
I think most of us can say that.
Right. So once I graduated from high school, I really, it had not been a lifelong dream to go to the University of Florida, but my buddy in high school, Debbie, was going to UF. That was the path she knew she was going on. She was going to become an architect. I was very interested in marine biology. So my 8th grade science teacher said, with all this Jacques Cousteau stuff going on, you're not going to get a job. There are too many marine biologists. Think about ocean physics. Ocean physics, what? So I didn't know what ocean physics was, but I decided to go to University of Florida first year, and then I was going to transfer to Florida Atlantic, where they did have an oceanography program. At that time, Florida Atlantic was only a 3-year school. It was not a full 4-year program. So I went to UF the first year, decided to stay. After I came from a high school class of 68, going to the University of Florida was pretty eye-opening in the 70s. Lots of experiences and opportunities, and so I ended up staying at UF. I studied horticulture instead of oceanography. I got through my 3rd class of calculus and decided, oh darn, I'm going to have to study. And so I looked for another program. And my friend told me about ornamental horticulture. Now they call it environmental horticulture. It's a more eco way of friendly, and certainly with budget and funding, ornamentals sound kind of frou-frou. So, but it had to do with growing nursery plants, landscaping, floral design work, and business management for training to become a florist. And I loved it. Plant pathology. So after my 4-year degree, I went back to the Game Commission summer camp, which is where I figure between my parents and being involved with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission is what the big name is now, FWC. Back then it was the Game Commission. But working at summer camp, working with youth, I just really enjoyed taking kids out on the walk, teaching hunting, fishing, boating safety, nature study, all of those kinds of things. And yet I was studying about working in a nursery. No nursery experience. I had helped my daddy run strings like a surveyor would plant a garden row. Those beans didn't care if they were in a straight line or not, right? But my daddy did. So we made sure the collards were in a straight line, the beans were in a straight line, and woe be it to the raccoon that harvested my mom's watermelons and cantaloupes. But after studying insects and diseases and how fruits grow and those kinds of things, I really, really enjoyed science. So I worked at summer camp again, some more, and the camp director said, Eleanor, why don't you think about going into agricultural education? You can take your youth experience and you can match it with your college classes and your camp participation, and you can become a vocational ag teacher. Well, while I was studying to become a vocational ag teacher on my master's program, I learned about extension education. We'd had a young friend of my mother's that was involved in 4-H, did a presentation at the college campus for their annual 4-H Congress. And when I watched this 13-year-old child, which at my time was not much younger than me, do a presentation on embryology and how an egg is fertilized, developed, and hatches out as a chick. And she is speaking better than the college professors and communicating. It was absolutely amazing. And so I was sold on 4-H after that.
And it stuck in your mind?
It stuck in my mind. And I have since incubated chicks and ducks. I have worked with 4-H youth through my career program, but through that experience and learning about the 4-H program and taking some of their courses in extension education, I graduated with a master's degree in adult and vocational education, which allowed me to have my teaching certificate after, of course, I turned in the paperwork. So I maintained my teaching certificate throughout my professional career and never taught formally in the school district. I did informal education. So.
And that career lasted for how many years?
Well, I went to school at UF for 6 years and then was hired. My very first job was in Kissimmee as a county agent. And I retired after 36 years in extension with the University of Florida in Kissimmee. And so a lot of people don't realize that the University of Florida has a presence in every county.
Right.
So see, now you're giving me a chance to do my commercial. My friends and family know that if I'm talking, I'm teaching. So you're asking me questions about me, but a lot of people don't realize that the program that I worked for is state and national. So unfortunately, they have the Green Acres idea of what is a county agent, and there's more to it than telling about growing corn and putting fertilizer out. So when I started working, women were not very common as county agents. And so people would come into the office in 1980 and they thought I was the secretary and they wanted to talk to the county agent about their dying petunia.
Right.
Or they wanted to know why their tomatoes were dying. Or they wanted to know if their frozen oranges were going to be, could they eat them or do they have to cut the tree down? Or what plants can I grow in my house? Everything's dying inside. So it was a great opportunity for me in my career field, but a lot of people don't realize that that University of Florida office is in every single county in Florida and throughout the United States as a joint partnership between the federal government with USDA, with the state of Florida through the University of Florida. The University of Florida is the extension system across the state, as well as the on-campus class and the research centers like we have right nearby the North Florida Research and Education Center that's right down the road off of, is it 136, I believe, near I-75. So we have this huge network. I was hired to work with 4-H youth and leadership development and leadership training for the adult volunteers. So while my focus was in horticulture, I mucked out horse stalls. I got to take kids to conservation camp where they learned about energy and water conservation and fishing. I worked with 4-H shooting sports, hunter safety program with the Game Commission as a volunteer educator there. I later was able to get a grant and work with helping builders and developers understand how they could reduce their impact on the environment as we continue to put rooftops across natural areas. So it's just really important to me that the community here has developed within the woodlands. We have shade. Okay, yes, I know there's humidity, but it's really important that we continue to encourage wildlife habitat by planting native plants in our yards. So these are things that I would teach. I would help the builders understand energy conservation. The best time to do it is to build it into the home with Energy Star windows, the type of roof cladding that they would use, light roof instead of dark roof, orientation of the home, how to properly irrigate so we're not sprinkling yards with the best drinking water we have in the state.
Right.
There's a lot of opportunities for water conservation just by turning the water off. And so I will continue to teach as a volunteer, but I did retire from the University of Florida, but I'm emeritus, so I will continue to be affiliated with UF.
Well, and thank you for doing a presentation yesterday at the Garden Club.
Thank you. I hope I'll be able to stay involved with the Garden Club in some way. I love playing in the dirt. I had to check and make sure that I didn't have dirt under my fingernails when I came in, but I love being outdoors and really helping people understand the natural systems that we can take advantage of in our yards through leaving the leaves instead of having to rake every time something falls on the ground, encouraging the beneficial insects and allowing nature to take its course sometimes, and that all weeds are not weeds, they're wildflowers and good for something. And yet still we have to recognize there are some plants that are not native here that can outcompete our native plants. And it's just the plant doing a really good job at being a plant. And sometimes we have to learn how to remove those to keep them from taking over natural systems. So I hope I can be a resource and not a weed in the community that somebody wants to get rid of.
We have a very diverse community here in a lot of ways, and there's a place for everybody, I believe.
I feel that here.
Good. Tell us a little more about your other mother.
My other mother is Miss Dorcas Audi. She's a native of Saltville, Virginia, and it's spelled Saltville, but up there everybody talks like they're eating marbles, so it's Saltville. And it really is built around salt mines that were very important in commerce for the Civil War effort. She's a mountain girl, so she says one leg is longer than the other because she was always walking on the side of a mountain. But she grew up there, and then her family would come to Virginia, or from Virginia to Orlando to visit family. She ended up settling in Orlando, and that's where she met her husband, Leo Rabita. And I met her son, Ray. I call him my Honey Ray, and so everybody thought his first name was Honey. I called him Honey Ray. And we were together for 24 years before he passed away suddenly of a brain aneurysm. So we had just moved her in. She'd been a snowbird and would come visit us. And we really wanted her to stay with us so we could love on her down here. And it wasn't until 2014 that she finally said, when we went to go pick her up in December, that she had changed her address. She had turned in her card. So she came to live with us in December, and he passed away the end of March. So it still makes me very sad, but I'm working through the grief process every day. We did everything together, and he loved Mom. I love Mom. I call her Mom or my other mother because it's too hard to explain the mother-in-law-ish thing. So she lived with me. We could not move into the home we bought in July until the bathroom was fixed so I could be a caregiver and take care of her. And I think there is absolutely no purpose for a bathtub in this community. I'm just going to tell you that.
I agree 100%.
And as new people move in, if they would just build the homes with without a bathtub and an accessible shower, that would be very much convenient for the new people moving in.
Right. And she now is at Good Samaritan?
She now is a resident at Good Samaritan, and certainly with COVID and her being legally blind, this has been a real challenge. She wears glasses that are tinted that she got through a special program called Lighthouse, and y'all have a program that comes to visit here. It is fabulous for people that are not blind yet but are losing vision for some reasons, whether it's macular degeneration or related to diabetes or whatever. Get involved in that program. Learn from other people while you still have some vision. It was fabulous in helping me to learn how to assist her better. So she has these cool red, I call them Geordie glasses. She looks like a space alien with her reddish glasses on. She can't see out of them, but it does help with the glare. So certainly right now with COVID and her only being able to see out the window, I tell people I look like one of those car sales blowy dolls with my arms flailing around so she would know that I was outside the window. And
but you're able to at least do that.
Now I can go back in for visitation, and I pray to God that she and the staff can stay safe. It is scary times.
It is.
So.
Well, now we've talked about the past. Tell us some things that are on your bucket list for the future.
Oh my goodness. I had an episode of Guillain-Barré syndrome. We will not go into the details right now, but that was life-changing for me. And so now instead of taking it easy, no, I'm going to run to the finish line. I don't know what time my number's up and when I'm going to cross that line, but I'm going to be running to the end. So I want to take a hot air balloon ride. I want to jump out of a perfectly good airplane in tandem and scream the tandem, whatever they're called, pilots' ears off as I go down. I want to go in airplanes, small planes. I want to travel. I don't know what my mission is yet. Those are on my bucket list. I'd love to see all of our beautiful national parks and state parks. So that means God's got to give me some time, right? So.
When you were talking about life-changing experiences, that's what you learned from that, is that you want to keep going full speed ahead.
Absolutely. I've got to run as fast as I can. I do believe God's guiding me, but I don't know where. And it's been kind of scary. My sale of my home in Kissimmee is supposed to close next week. And so then that will be a whole nother chapter. It's been very stressful with caregiving and that. I'll have more time to spend with Mom. And hopefully with COVID, we can get it calmed down enough where I can actually meet my neighbors, enjoy exploring up here. I love wandering in the woods, but I don't know what I will do here next. I know I have a lot of stuff and I need time to de-stuffify and simplify some life. That will be a priority that I'm sure my neighbors will be happy every time I open the garage door. I am known as Ellie with stuff, but when they need something, they know where to go.
That's good
when
to know.
When they need stuff, I may not know exactly where it is, but I bet you I got it.
Well, you haven't told us about your housemate, your feathered housemate.
Oh, my sweet Miko the parrot. Well, Ray got a parrot when he was paid for a roofing job. So he felt sorry for the parrot, so he could have anything in the pet store. He took the parrot. Do you know how long parrots live? This sweet parrot will be in the will to my daughter, and it is a blue front Amazon. And I'm hoping there are other bird lovers here because I might need a bird sitter periodically. But she does not talk, she squawks. And so Miko will sing me or talk and squawk to me in the morning. She talks and squawks with me at night and when I'm trying to talk on the telephone. So if people call me, they might actually get to meet Miko virtually before they get to meet her in person. She's very loud.
And share with us what age she is now.
We only know that she's at least 40. Ray's had her 38 years now, older than his daughter. And so our best guess is 40-ish. She's a spinster. She will not have a mate. She has her own cage, and I can't afford a paradominium for a couple. So, but I enjoy her company.
Well, she's beautiful as well.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the chance to visit with you this morning and share your story with the village. I hope you've enjoyed our time together, and we look forward to being with you again.